Okay, so we're talking about minor major, a relative minor to its relative major, and how you can transpose a melody to a minor key very easily when you use the juxtaposition of those two chords. The reason being that, like if we're in the key of C and we're talking about its relative minor, which is 6th step. Count up the alphabet.
A.
Right, A minor, right? So, if I were to compare the C chord to the A minor chord, I have C, E, and G are the elements of the C chord.
Okay.
C, E, G.
Okay.
And an A minor chord has a C, E, A. So two notes in common make these chords very, very similar, and that's why they're called relative.
Okay. These are commonly used in songwriting, yes?
Oh yeah, totally.
I mean,
in fact, it's an old standard thing to go like, you have a song in like C major, and then you want your bridge,
right,
and to take it to the 6th minor.
Okay,
yeah.
I'm glad you. I'm so dumb. I'm glad you explained this stuff easily. But yeah, okay. So
Good.
Yeah.
Glad you get it. So I was going to demonstrate how you can take a melody. One of the really fun jobs is is changing the harmonic background of a piece of music, but keeping the melody exactly the same. All right.
Okay.
Jazz guys love to do this, and they've done remarkable. I can't think of any instances offhand, but just taking a pop song and tweaking the chord changes around. I got a gig. I forget the name of the movie, something like... it was about the voting fraud, a documentary movie about the voting fraud. And there's people in the Palisades produced this movie.
You mean the Hanging Chads, that sort of stuff? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the actually, this was a whistleblowing movie. The guy that was paid to write code that could be tweaked, he blew the whistle, and they interviewed this dude. Anyway, I was hired to do... some music for it, and one of the suggestions was that I do a version of the Star Spangled Banner a la Hendrix, like do the Hendrix thing.
Okay.
And I thought, well, why would they hire me to do the Hendrix when they could just get the Hendrix?
Yeah.
And I thought, no, I want to do the Star Spangled Banner, but I want to do it different, was it? Yeah, I think it was. Anyways, typical me, a typical musician. I never sat down and worked anything out. I'm trundling over to the Palisades, thinking, what am I going to do with this? And I thought, I'll take it to the relative minor and put it in a sad minor key, because after all, this is a new century, new decade, and we need a different feeling, a different kind of sardonic twist on the Star Spangled Banner. And I thought, well, let's make it really sad, because it looks like we're losing, integrity in government and stuff like that. So let's make it a sad one. So what I did, instead of da-da-da-da-da-da, I did like... right? I forget, I created a loop. I did like a real serious minor chord, something like that, and superimposed the Star Spangled Banner. That sort of thing. I don't remember how I threw it together.
Now that wasn't chord substitution. That was playing it in a different mode.
Well, it was off the 6th chord, the relative minor. Mm-hmm. Let me see if I could explain this. There are two things you can do with this. One is, like, say the C going to the F is 1 to 4.
Okay.
So you want to take that to A minor. I'm not really giving you good examples, unfortunately, but if you took that to A minor, there's a 1 to 4 relationship from that A minor, which would be A minor to D minor.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it's the same distance between C to F is the same distance between A minor and D minor.
So that becomes sort of the 4th
so
chord.
So you follow in parallel. You could follow in parallel.
Okay. Okay.
That sort of thing.
Okay. No, that makes sense. Okay.
So I wish I could think like. That was feeling so bad. I asked my friend the doctor just what I had. All right, that's closer to an idea that might work. And because you're in minor, see, then you can really get a little crazy if you want to. Instead of E minor, which is the pure mode, you could do the E7, which gives us harmonic minor. Feeling so bad. And now it sounds almost Latin.
Yeah, it does. It does.
And then you could do your Latin version of
Sure.
you know.
Well, now you can also. Is there another sort of construction mode where you go from the relative minor in the same song into the major?
Into the major.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the reverse trick. Same thing.
Yeah.
You know. There's probably 1,000 Beatles songs that do
Okay.
this. But yeah, sure. You could have your verse. Now the cool thing about this one, it goes to relative major. Now this is a really cool thing about this particular song. Not only does he take the minor A minor to a relative major, but he takes it also to A major. I'm just the lucky kind. You know that? He takes it to A major, which is the parallel minor. You keep the same root, A minor, A major.
Okay.
All right. Now we're in a completely. This is a 3-sharp key. We're just in a no sharp key. So we're really straight far in this modulation. When you do parallel, you're, you know, a good distance away from your initial key.
Okay. Somewhere along the line, that was good. That was a great little lesson there. Somewhere along the line, I want you to maybe think of, you know, it's sort of like what that Hawaiian guy did with Somewhere Over the Rainbow, the ukulele guy that was in the ads all the time.
Yeah. He kept the same changes mostly.
Oh, he did. He didn't. Did he do any chord
Gave it a different
substitutions?
rhythm.
No.
Just gave it a different rhythm.
Oh, is that all?
I'm pretty
Okay.
sure. Yeah.
Okay. But maybe for next time, if you could think of a couple, and keep in mind, keep this as simple as, you know, my little puddle of mud, of songs that we could do. You could slowly take me through doing chord substitution and what things that can present. In other words, it'd be a song that obviously could be, you know, fairly easily sung in a somewhat of a different way, or same, keeping the integrity of the song, but having different chording, different voicing. Is that you call voicing? I don't know.
Yeah, sure. Voice leading. Yeah, that's a fun game to play if you know your theory. It's a really fun game to play. You could.
Well, now, do you do that in your jazz stuff? Is this more of do jazz players do an awful lot of chord substitution?
They do it like crazy.
Like all the time?
Yeah, they love to do that.
Yeah.
They love to do that. I mean, that's part of the art of jazz. I mean, that's why in the real book they give you only 4-note chords, and unless it's really, really required by the song, they won't even tell you. They won't give you an altered dominant. They'll leave it up to you to alter the dominant. You know. Now that's keeping. Do you understand? Remember the old Christmas tree analogy with the tinsel and all that? You still have the same chord underneath. There are two approaches. I mean, one is actually truly substituting out a chord for a chord that has a different function altogether.
Oh, okay.
Like, let's
So this is something out of the outfield, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
it's not even in the ballpark.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Like I could do, in other words, like I could do a C major 9, and maybe a G 13 flat 9, right? And I could sing. Mary had a little lamb, little lamb. No, that'll work. Little lamb, little lamb. Mary had whatever. A little lamb, her fleece was white as snow. Now those are the real chord. Mary had a little lamb, little lamb.
Right.
So now I'm just like really making it a fat C, and an altered 13th, but that's still G7 and C.
Right.
But I could go like this. Mary had a little lamb, little lamb, little lamb. And now I'm completely substituting out chords.
Okay.
All right. And jazzers love to do that too. Probably there was a jazz version of Blackbird done. You probably heard it before by the Beatles, and I'm sure they must have substituted out a few chords there.
Okay.
That one.
What do you call the technique where you're doing melody and full chording at the same time?
Oh, chord melody.
Chord melody?
Yeah.
Okay. We've talked a little bit about this. Is that something that guitarists along the path that you took, they would learn to do? Can all guitarists with those skills, do they learn that?
I know a lot of pretty advanced guitarists that can't do that even in a folk setting.
Really?
Yeah. Like say the song I played before, right? I used to do that solo without a looper when I first started doing solo guitar shows. Or say Green Day song, "Time of Your Life." Not many guitar players actually
have the ear for
There's
that?
not a lot of guys that do that.
Really?
I mean, the more bluegrass guys would be well capable of that because they do a lot of melody with.
Oh, will they?
But I know some guys that are really advanced even in jazz, and they don't offhand do that sort of thing.
I've heard you do that sort of thing, haven't I, with some jazz standards?
Well, yeah, that's chord melody. Now, you could get the same jazz guy that'll be able to play a chord melody piece of music, but won't be able to use these folk chords and do the same thing. It's kind of funny because, I always say like the mark of a truly good musician is flexibility, the ability to flow through different styles, and guitar just offers so much,
Well, don't you play Misty?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is kind of. Now, do you remember when you learned how to do that?
When I learned how to...
When you learned how to, say, play that number?
How old were you? Ago. I think I found it by accident. I took these two chords. I was experimenting with diminished sevenths, which go up in minor thirds like that, the same four notes. And then that's a jazz sound right there, 13th flat. And then a jazz piano player told me about this sour little resolution on this song.
Oh.
But even so...
now, speaking of a piano player, when you're playing, can you see kind of what's going on the keyboard?
Oh, yeah.
And adjust and whatever, and I mean, you pick up what's happening here.
I'll give an example. Like with my band, we wanted to get a keyboardist in there, and we're doing the song... No, we weren't. We were doing all blues, what we call all blue kind, our tweak of Miles's all blues, a G13 chord, right? And we're doing the song, and this is like, the guy's playing with us for the first time, and I tell him, man, he was name-dropping all these bebop players, and guys I didn't even know much about, because I'm not a jazz purist, I don't study jazz. So I was like kind of intimidated, like, oh, this is an advanced jazz guy. Typical LA musicians. Typical. He sits down, and we start playing the song, and it's like, this is easy. This is a blues. This is not hard. All blues is an easy piece of music. And we're playing along, and I'm like hearing something not quite right in the keys. So I stopped the band. I said, "Excuse me, but can I hear the inversion you're using for the G13 chord?" And he plays the inversion, and I'm looking reverse to him. And I saw the inversion. I said, "What is a C doing in that chord? That's a suspension, and it's arguing with the rest of the way we're voicing it. Just play a straight."
What was it? Can you play what he was playing?
Well, let's see. I don't know the chord. I don't know what he was playing exactly, but a C against a G13 is pretty hard.
Okay.
I mean, when I say hard, I say that loosely because
there's a place it can be okay.
Right, exactly. You could use anything for effect. Yeah. So, it's just my particular taste. There's the minor ninth I talk about. That's like, You know, in classical music, they said the devil's interval was the tritone. I say the minor ninth is the devil's interval. It's just horrifying to me.
Okay.
I prefer this much over,
Yeah.
you know.
Sure.
So anyway, yeah, I saw over his piano, and it was a very embarrassing moment because I said, no, let's do a straight 13, and he's like fumbling. He couldn't do this chord. And I said, dude, you know, just throw, what's the voicing? F, B, and E, and play a G in the bass. Just do F, B, and E. And he's fumbling looking for an F, B, and E, and I'm like, what the hell? This guy's like name-dropping jazz guys coming off like he's, you know, like a seasoned musician. He can't form a 13th chord. So that was the last time we saw that guy. It was very embarrassing because we all looked at each other when he was sitting there trying to form a 13th chord. We're all like, what? You know, even as guitar players can do that.
Well, I was just gonna ask you, is this a surprise sometimes to keyboard players that guitarists know what they're talking about?
I think so, yeah. I mean, you know the old joke.
You're a lower subculture.
Yeah, oh yeah, guitarists are... Well, that's because they're a dime a dozen.
What's the old joke?
Oh, yeah, how to get a guitar player to turn down? Hand them a chart. I don't know what to do with that. And it's true. It's true. I mean, I can't sight read. I'm a crappy sight reader. I can read chord charts. I can't read melodies.
What, you can take one of those lead books or whatever?
I can flow through all that stuff. Not a problem. And that's, you know, I've played sessions doing that sort of thing.
But what you said earlier, if you're lucky, there's maybe 4 chords or whatever in there. Or what? On you know, the bare skeleton, there may just be... How skimpy the chord, what is the name for the fake book? Fake book.
The real book.
Yeah, is that okay?
The real book, the jazz book.
Okay, yeah, whatever. You were talking about how that's on the page, how that looks on the page.
Right. Well, the difference between pop and jazz is that pop, you'll play what they write on the page, and in jazz, you have the artistic freedom to extend out a chord.
Okay.
Even substitutes. Some guys will do a literal substitution, but you know, you have to talk to the other musicians, especially if you've got a keyboard player. These guys are harmony crazy, so you get, you know, if you're also a harmonist, when you got to say, okay, you know, I'm hearing a different inversion. What are you doing over there? You know,
yeah, you've talked before about lots of times you listen to their turnaround.
Oh yeah, listen to their turnaround. You know,
yeah, it'll give you a clue.
It's just like, in a way, it's almost understood that you follow the piano player because he's the guy that knows the most or thinks he knows. You know, I'll never forget a time down in Austin. I was playing. I was in the band. We were doing Hair, and I was in the band, and we had a musical director that had a master's, or even he was going for a doctorate or something like that. Music keyboard player. The drummer had a master's in percussion, right? So they're just snobbing me out because why? I'm a guitar player. I don't know shit, right? So, guy says to me, he goes, and it was the 13th chord actually we were talking about. He goes, you know, he goes, I think I need the 13th chord in a higher octave, and could you put the 9th on top? And I knew he was testing me, and I just went, okay. You want it there? Is that what you want? He goes, yeah. And he shut up after that. In terms of testing me, you know, I was like, okay, dude, I know it too, okay? You know, as long as these guys don't throw a figured bass at me, I'm okay. And probably if I throw a figured bass at them, they wouldn't be okay. Because nobody, it's like remembering, you know, like trigonometry. Like, who cares, you know?